Какие у меня ужасные волосы. Ужас.
Can you say that in English? Hey, so surprise, surprise, we are about to start our first podcast, English Peanut podcast, that will be featuring interesting guests from all over the world. And apparently, we have someone who lived 9 years in England, but then somehow got back to Belarus. And we have Hanna today. Hanna, thank you very much for joining us. It's a great pleasure to have you at our studio, and I hope it's going to be a new cool tradition to have one guest at least per month in our studio to spread the word about cool professionals that learned English at some point and definitely enriched their life with it, got some cool new opportunities. So, starting from the very beginning, please tell us how come you got to UK when you were born originally from Belarus, right? Then somehow you got this idea of moving there, or how it all started.
Yeah, see, that's top two most popular questions I got asked. So the second
I
one
can imagine.
is how I got to the UK, and the first one is obviously why the hell am I back here? Okay, so let's start at the beginning. So I first traveled to the UK when I was 7. It was this sort of host family exchange program, except it wasn't really exchange, it was just one way. It was like friends of my mom's business partner. Ugh, sorry, a friend of my mom's business partner who was hosting children. And yeah, you could just go there for maybe like a week or so to learn English and to
So how old were you?
7.
7.
Yeah.
Okay. What was your first impression when you were there? Was it very different from Belarus?
Absolutely. It was terrifying because no one spoke Russian. I could only speak English. And obviously, when you were 7, you're not that good at English. I learned the one thing that I've learned really well was dictionary. It saved my life. But I fell in love with London. I came back, I was like, I'm gonna go live there one day. At that point, it was the craziest thought because yeah, we were nowhere near being able to afford any of that kind of stuff. Plus, it just seemed really unrealistic. But I was like, I'm going there. I don't care. This is gonna happen. One day I will live there.
Did you already ride a double-decker bus? And what was your like first big impression about London when you were 7?
It was just very exciting and it felt like the right place for me to be because even though it felt terrifying when no one understood me and spoke my language and I missed home and obviously I'm still very, very young, it just felt like home for the time being. I was like, this is great, I love it. Even though I lived in Ashford, just like a small city in Kent. But yeah, we visited London for just a trip. And yeah, it was really nice.
Yeah, so moving on, what happened afterwards?
So then I think I came back like next summer, and then after that I started going to like summer schools and summer camps abroad. Started learning English better and better. And then at some point when I was, I think about 12, my mom was like, do you want to try to apply to study in the UK? And at that point, I knew quite a bit about British education. I was like, yes, I do, but I do not want to go to an international school because all that's good for is just Russian Chinese students who are just there to spend money and not learn anything. So I was like, I want to go to a proper British school. If I'll be able to, get accepted into one of those, then I'll go. And then my first choice was actually Cheltenham Ladies. I didn't get accepted into that one. So I went to Taunton. But spoiler alert, 3 years later, I got into Cheltenham Ladies. Because, yeah, at first it wasn't that my English level wasn't good enough. It was my English in sciences, history, maths, and all the other subjects that was not good enough. So I had like basic English, but all of the subject related stuff, it was where I was absolutely terrible.
One clarifying question here. So when you were 12, you quit some Belarusian school and you moved to UK,
I moved
right?
when I was 13. So at 12, I was applying. At 13, I actually moved there. Yeah.
Right. So, and you can start like from scratch in the UK, having some diploma from Belarusian school, right? Like something to, or did they even check anything? Or
No, they had their own kind of internal exams
Mhm.
that I needed to complete. I think when you're young, it's like that. Later on, because it was basically in the UK, you get those different stages of your education. So I was going into year nine. I was meant to go into year eight in Belarus, but it was year nine in the UK, like equivalent. So year nine is just before you select your subjects. That's where the first kind of subject selections happen. And then for year 10 and 11, that's your GCSEs, which is like exams after year nine, maybe here. And for GCSEs, you actually select quite a lot of your subjects. You have some compulsory stuff like maths, English, and sciences, but you can take a double award or a triple award. Triple award means you learn all the sciences. Double award means you do science in general and one science that you're good at, that you're doing for your exams. Then you don't have to study geography or history, but you can choose to study them. There's also one language that you can choose. If you are foreign, then you're allowed to do EFL. I actually went to one lesson of that, but I was way too good in English, and then they told me to go and do something else because I was ruining it for the whole class because I was just telling them all the answers, and they were like, "No, go away." So that's how I started learning Spanish. That's my third language, not second, third. And then, oh, RS, religious studies, is also a big part of British education. You can do full course, so for year 10 and 11, or half course, so only do it 1 year and then finish your exam at the end of year 10.
Something different from our curriculum.
Yeah.
So what about our guys in Belarus? Is it still possible for them to do the same thing, what you actually did?
No, of course. I mean, I think pretty much anyone can go study in the UK when they're in, so year going into year 8 or year 9 in here. To study GCSEs because you don't actually need a lot for that. After that, I think the requirements get higher. Obviously, because I studied GCSEs there, I already had my English GCSE, so I didn't have to do IELTS once since then because I had like local diploma for English, so they were like, why do we need to test your English if you're good enough to do
Okay, I got
the
it.
British
So
exam?
those guys who are now doing their 8th year here in Belarus, it's high time for you to start thinking. And if you still want to give it a try, you can do it, right?
Of course. I mean, the earlier the better, really. But there's also a whole like psychological factor, whether you'll be able to do it and
Yeah,
how are you, how independent you are and how do you feel, whether you'll be homesick and whether that's going to be even worse for your mental health.
Yeah, could you tell us more about this? Like, was it a big shock for you to start living in, was it a dormitory where you lived with like some other students or,
Yeah,
and you were
well,
just 13?
13, yeah.
Yeah.
From the age of 13, I started
Mhm.
doing that. Well, I wouldn't say that it was like a massive shock because at that point I've already been to a few summer camps. I've been away from home for quite a lot. Every now and then, pretty much every summer, at least like a week or two, I would be somewhere else. But obviously going into that full time, it was slightly scary as it is for any child.
Yeah, like, did you
With
feel
time.
homesick?
Yes and no. Well, I felt homesick, but it was like I didn't allow myself to feel homesick fully because it was such a dream for me to go there. I didn't really call my parents as much as I wanted to because I was like, oh my God, they're gonna think that I'm not handling it well. They're gonna take me back. So I'm just gonna
Come back
pretend.
home.
Yeah, I'm just gonna pretend like it's not nothing is happening and I'm all good here and I'll just cry on my pillow and pretend that, the world is a paradise. And I've had this moment when I felt super lonely at the start of year 9. And there was also this whole conflict within like Russian society. There are always Russian groups in every British school, pretty much. And there was this conflict with this society, so I felt like completely alienated. And this guy from my class also started picking on me for having Russian accent and stuff like that. And yeah, and I felt terrible because of all that. I felt completely alone. And I just got really into my studying. I organized my all of my books, all of my exercise books, made sure that everything is in order. I was like reading up extra stuff on subjects and things like that. And that's when I got moved up a class, actually. So in the UK, you have this system where it's like ABCs that you get. There are actually they depend on the level of knowledge that you have. So what was like in Taunton? We had classes that were based on English and science, I think, in year 9, and then we had separate ones for English and separate ones for science in 10 and 11. But yeah, so in year 9, I got moved up a class to study with the smarter kids. They're also separate gradings for maths, because in maths I was pretty much in the...
So as they say, you made lemonade from lemons, right?
Yeah, so I think that might be a good advice for your internal crisis when you feel really down and when you feel like, everything is out of hand. Just sort your life out, go into your studying or go into your work maybe, and try to sort out something that you can actually handle right now, and then everything else starts shaping.
Yeah, a pretty great approach, because this is what people might not even expect when they are, on Heaven 7. I'm gonna go to UK, I'm gonna study, I'm gonna have an absolutely different life there. But somehow your heritage, your past catches up, right? And you can't really overcome it that easily unless you move when you are 1 year old. And you start from nursery there. And that's what I actually heard. Is that true that to have some kind of proper education and a proper social cycle around you, you should start from some proper nursery, let's say in city in London, to have this social cycle right around you, proper friends and stuff, and then it's there where you should advance, and all your career depends on it.
No, I would say that that's quite debatable, because obviously there are some people like that who would have their friends since childhood and so on. A lot of us were not like that, actually, because we went to a boarding school, so quite a lot of people moved from all across the country, and there were a lot of children of the army guys who obviously they were moving quite a lot, so that's why boarding school was the only way to keep the child stable. So I think it highly depends on what kind of person you are. Obviously, it's good to get an education in the country because it does give you a massive network. Right now, my LinkedIn contacts are all across the world, all across the industries, because I got education to quite good schools, universities. They're all in quite high positions. So I have this amazing network. I did not start that young, but younger than a lot of people who moved to a country for education. I wouldn't say that I have that many contacts from my year 9, 10, 11. I think most of them actually come from my high school and from my university. University most of all, I think.
Yeah, so talking about university, what was it? What did you choose? And tell us about this. And we would expect it would be something absolutely humanitarian, because you already have an advantage of speaking several languages
Right.
fluently. So maybe it would be teaching. I know, not teaching, I mean literature stuff, sociology, I don't know, whatever. So what was it?
Absolutely not me at all. That might be the easy way out. No, I did not like that. Well, I was quite creative in terms of literature studies and so on, but I'm an absolute nerd when it comes to maths. I love maths and physics and all things connected with that. I was math team
Unlike a
captain.
lot of girls who struggle so much to at least get 3 out of 10.
Yeah, I am very logical and very organized person, as you might have figured. Absolutely. I was math team captain for year 10 and then year 10 and 11 team. Was in all the math challenges. I did add math, which is additional math that you do in year 10 and 11, that's higher level, because math was not challenging enough for me at that level. So yeah. But actually, when it came to choosing my degree, I was all over the place. I did not know what I want to do. I was going from fashion and marketing onto even some language-based stuff, but not for long. And
So what
then,
helped you to pick something?
well, Um, I think my first thought was when I was getting some extra Spanish lessons with a tutor, and we discussed this topic with him. Really weird, but yeah. And then he was like, "Oh, but you really like physics, maths. Why don't you do something along those lines?" I was like, interesting thought. Um, didn't really take into account that much. But then there was also this Women in Science and Women in Engineering Festival. Women in Science was actually in Cambridge University, and that looked really cool. I was like, yes, physics. I love physics. I'm going to go into theoretical physics. And then I was at my physics class, and my physics teacher was doing this like extracurricular club for engineering. Um, I did not know what engineering was about, never liked it, no idea. That's like a whole new world for me. But I never liked to do my homework. I was a terrible student because I understood everything perfectly, so I did not need to do my homework. I did not want to do it. So all the teachers obviously did not really like that fact. So in order to suck up to my teacher, I was like, I'm going to go to his extracurricular club so that I don't have to do my homework. And that's how I ended up at this engineering education scheme, which is a really good scheme for students at high school. You get to work with actual real world companies to solve real world problems. I worked with L3CRL. It's quite a big company. They do communications and security and stuff like that. They actually do quite a lot of exciting stuff. One of the most notable things for me personally, because I see it every time I go abroad, because they have them in airports, like the thing where you go like this, the scanners. Yeah, they all have like L3 stickers on them. So every time I go by, I'm like, I worked for this company. But they also did like defense and all that kind of stuff. So our project was actually based on that. It was a universal trigger event sensor. So it's like this box that basically senses a trigger. Why they needed it was, I don't think they actually used it, but the actual explanation for it was that they have this kind of like a blocker that doesn't allow a bomb to go off, and they need to check whether it's working or not. So when this blocker is on, no matter what you do to this sensor, it should not go off. It should not be triggered. So we did different kind of inputs with like light, sound, just motion when you shake it, and then it would beep and the light will go on, meaning that it went off. And obviously, if the blocker is on, then the light should not go on.
Sorry, that was your project at university?
No, at school.
At school?
Yeah.
Even before you enrolled for engineering and everything. Okay, that was the one.
So at that point, I was still going into theoretical physics. And we actually went to Plymouth University to do like workshops there and to solder and do this whole thing to assemble it.
This is funny what you're saying about theoretical physics, because my husband actually enrolled into theoretical physics at the very end of his bachelor physics of his bachelor in physics, and that what he was saying, that we really lack an opportunity to apply our knowledge somewhere, and it's all like so theoretical, it's driving you crazy. It's just you're so bored at the end of the day because you can't really
see. I thought that was quite nice because I really liked the kind of problems that did not actually have an answer, of thinking about them and how to get there and different ways of thinking. I actually, well, I'll tell you about this later, got accepted to Nottingham without exams. So basically, and we did a presentation for this universal trigger event sensor at Rolls-Royce. That was also very exciting. And I really liked seeing the product of, this whole thing. I was like, this is actually really exciting. It's not that I did something on paper, that I can hold it and then it does something, and I made it happen. So I was like, actually, I quite like it. I'm going to go into electron and conductical engineering. Yeah, 180. Not quite from physics, but yeah, because it's still like
electronic and engineering.
Electronic and electrical engineering.
And electrical engineering, right? Yes. Okay, right. So, did you really like this studies afterwards? Like, did you at the end of the day felt like you made the right choice, and how did it then, influence your future career?
Well, basically, when I started my degree, a lot about British unis are about culture and partying and socializing. So I got quite into that.
Was it Nottingham? Sorry.
Nottingham
Yeah,
Uni, yeah.
Nottingham. Mhm.
I got into Nottingham through this High Achiever Award where I did not have to do it in my exams. They didn't care what my A levels were. They were just accepting me as long as I put them as my first choice. So through an interview, I
Just an interview. Okay.
yeah, because as I said, I really liked talking about world problems and just discussing them and thinking about like very innovatively. And he was like very impressed. I was like, yeah, okay, come to our uni.
Great.
And also because I had all those extracurriculars, I had like an extraordinary amount of different stuff that I was doing. I had like Gold Crest Award, Industrial Cadet Award, all those different, obviously the Women in Science, Women in Engineering festivals. I went to Jaguar
Was it
Land
for
Rover
just women?
Science.
No,
No,
man.
no, but in the UK, there's
like
a big
supporting women.
program, yeah, that's they really help women in STEM, so science, technology, engineering, maths, because there's still not a lot of them. So they're trying to really nurture this environment.
And talking about the position of women in general in UK, can you compare it to Belarusian women's position? Because like obviously with the Soviet heritage, women felt quite free at some point, like long time ago. So we don't really have to combat our for like to struggle for our rights here. What about UK? Do women feel somehow, underrepresented some points?
No, but I think in the UK it's a much more natural equality than in here. I think in here it's still a bit like maybe like 10 or 20 years back because there is this kind of feel of equality, yet there is still a lot of very unequal things happening, especially when you talk about relationships and stuff like that. That I don't know if it's wrong, but I think that that's just something that our mentality will never understand, being like, I can't be an equal partner. This is just not because I'm not.
Yeah, like in Belarus, women still expect their partners to take care of everything.
Yeah,
like
true.
And in the UK, it's really different. I mean, like women don't even expect it.
I think a lot of women make a point of being independent, that they're like, oh, I'm going to.
They even like underline this point.
Yeah, being like, I'm splitting the bill because that's my power and that's my right and I can do that. When we were at school, we had this subject, I don't know, remember what it was called in Cheltenham, but in Taunton it was PSHE, like social stuff.
There wasn't even a subject about it.
And it wasn't about that, but it was just teaching you life skills like how to do your taxes and how to change a tire, which is something that I think Belarusian women don't really know how to do.
We absolutely lack this knowledge. We need it in this course.
Yeah.
Added to curriculum, please.
Yeah.
Cool. So getting back to your degree and how it all ended, what do you actually end up with?
Yeah, so basically what I found out was that I'm not that much into electrical, but that's actually something that I got to experience in the world outside. But I quite liked the electronics part of it, and I was really good at programming as well.
What languages?
Hidden talent. My highest grade was in C++, but it was like block-based Qt stuff. Yeah, and fun fact, to not show that to my teachers, but I think I was still drunk because there was this like crisis all-nighter thing like happening, and there was this like big party, and it only finished at like 7 o'clock in the morning maybe. I went to Mackey's, had some food, had a shower, straight to my like exam. It was like practical work, and I was like, we had to do this like MP3 player,
and
I made
like
I think I was still drunk. I don't think I was hangover just yet. But because I was so excited, I made it so jazzy. It like changed colors and it was like different pictures popping out. I was like, let's add this and that. Like let's make it groovy. Like playing different tunes. So my teacher was very impressed. That much extra work put in. So I think I got 100% on that.
Okay, they were even impressed with your like above average completion.
Absolutely, yeah.
Cool. So
yeah, and but when I finished uni,
so you enjoyed it, right? And you didn't regret it like
I definitely enjoyed my degree. I would do it again. I don't know if I would go into electronics and computing more than electronic and electrical. but it's, details. It's not that much.
And so what do they expect from you when you graduate? You're free to do whatever you want, obviously, right? It's not like,
Yes, that's
Mhm.
the tricky part with our graduation. I think my life would have been very different if not for coronavirus, because it was my last year of uni. So when it hit, it was actually right when I said that, like, you know what, I'm in the UK while I'm still at uni, I can travel. So I booked tickets to Milan, and that's when they closed Milan for coronavirus. Unlucky me. But then what happened was, it was right before our Easter holidays, so we got a longer Easter, or we were meant to get a longer Easter, so we came back home slightly earlier because all the airports were getting shut down and stuff like that. So we had to travel. And then we did not know when we'd be back, but well, we were hoping to be back after Easter, but we weren't. So I only came back in summer to pack up my stuff because we were renting a house, and everything was still left as it was because I was not expecting to never be back there. So yeah, I came back to pack up my stuff, put it at my friend's place. Thanks so much to those lovely. It was actually twins, the Fontelis and Thanos, who were. I think it was their house, or they were renting it full time. I don't remember what the situation was, but basically they were living in their house. So I put it in their house to not pay for storage. So they lived in my boxes for a long time because I did not come back until like autumn, end of autumn, I think. And I only came back because on the way from the UK to Belarus, on the plane, I met this guy, but I didn't even like meet this guy. I was sleeping for the whole time, and he was trying to be really nice, being like, "Oh, do you want your food?" I was like, "Shut up, I don't really care. I just want to sleep." But yeah, I woke up by the end of my plane ride. And he was like, "Yeah, do you want your sandwich, blah, blah, your water?" I was like, "Oh, yeah, sure. Okay." And then he kept trying to talk to me. He was like, "Oh, so where are you? What, why are you in the UK? Where are you flying to? Blah, blah, blah." I was like, "Well, I was there to pack up my stuff because I just graduated uni and I don't really know what to do with my life." And he was like, "Oh, what did you do?" It's like, "I did electronic and electrical engineering." And he's like, "Well, this is absolute fate because I have an electrical company in London." Um, yeah, and he
You
said
got
that,
fired at that moment.
yes. Funnily enough, no idea about my technical knowledge, but if you believe in destiny, then that was it probably. Although I didn't actually end up there for long, but that's a whole different story. But yeah, basically he was like, "We've got this new project in London about smart houses, and we need an engineer because my electricians have no idea what to do." So
Like Internet of Things stuff and
yes, but I didn't actually get to that project. I'll tell you, yeah, in a second. But yeah, but basically it was that they need an engineer for the smart houses and for the design of them and so on to rule over the electricians. Then I came back home. Then we had this whole like discussions, and because he said that the project is getting postponed, which is normal stuff in construction worlds because nothing ever gets done on time, so on. So I only moved back there in the end of autumn. But basically, what happened at that point was that I already got a job here at a cryptocurrency exchange place. I worked there for a little bit. I also waitress part-time. And yeah, and I think that was it. I came back there, started working for them. But then the reason why I didn't stay in the UK probably, it was because of coronavirus also. When I was in Belarus, everything was so open and free. You could do whatever you want. You had all your friends, all your relatives. You could go out anywhere, and everything was open. It's like it didn't even exist.
Yeah, no one cared.
No one cared about coronavirus. In England, it was like super strict. Everything is shut. The only place you see is your work and your home. You can't really go anywhere. London is absolutely massive. For me to get to my friends, I had to travel for an hour and a half at least to get to like city center. I had to travel 2 hours on the underground
And you can't do it anymore,
for
right?
work. What do you mean?
You couldn't travel, like, or was it still possible to
I
take public
could
transport?
travel, yes. There were a lot of restrictions. Obviously, as a key worker, because I was working in construction, I was allowed to travel. At one point, everything was closed, and I could only travel to work and back. Then it was like relaxed a little bit, where you could go places, but it was also like you can't go to a restaurant or a bar. There was also only like very strict restrictions. You had to book your slot. It was all very spaced out and so on. So you couldn't talk to anyone apart from people you knew. I did not really know that many people. I had like two
Yeah, it's a big
friends.
city. Obviously, you don't meet
Yeah, I
many
had
people.
two
You
friends in the
don't
city
know many
center.
people.
So they're really far away from me, and traveling was really hard. Um, and it was just really getting to me because also my co-workers were all men in their 50s, like construction men, like Turkish, and like Polish and stuff. We didn't really have
Not
that
the
much
most
to talk about.
exciting, the most exciting environment.
I don't want to offend
Yeah.
anyone, but I think we're just different generations and different, mind structures, if you can call it that. So it was very difficult mental health wise. And during Christmas holidays, all the construction gets frozen. You don't really do anything. So everyone go back for the holidays. Everyone goes back, and so did I. I went back for the holidays, and I was like, I'm not coming back. Yeah, there was also this opportunity with helping opening a medical center that I did, and then I got this job at logistics. I also started talking to my husband. I met him right before going to the UK, but then we actually started talking after I came back. So it's like I got another job opportunity. I sort of have a start of a relationship here. So do I really need to go back? I don't know. Plus, because I worked at logistics, I worked at a Polish company. In summer I traveled to them to get my documents ready and so on. So I spent some time in Poland. Then for the whole summer I left to go to Italy with them, with that company. So I was like, I still get to travel, so it's not bad. But the problem with logistics was that you have to be online 24/7 because stuff is happening all the time. You don't belong to yourself, and when they tell you that you need to go there, you need to go there, you've got no way of saying this, like, no, I've got plans. You don't have plans, you've got work.
Right, so this is
Couldn't do that.
how such a twist can happen. What a twist
Yeah.
in such a promising career. And yeah, but I think it's always, there are some advantages, disadvantages everywhere. So you can't say it's not absolutely not promising here, because we all know Hannah. I think our audience might already know her as a great teacher who's been already teaching English for how many years? Is it for 3 years you already teach?
Well, my first experience teaching, well, if you talk about our first experiences, then it was even like at school, because I did the community links where I taught like programming to preschool children, and there was this volunteering stuff, but proper tutoring stuff that I did was actually first time was accidental at uni. This person found me, he found me himself. It was after I watched The Secret. I don't know, have you seen it? It's this like
Secret.
magical movie about subconscious and the universe and how you attract things into your life.
Of course, yes.
And
This
I was
is the
like,
one everyone watched at some point.
yeah,
It
yeah,
was
yeah.
viral. Yeah.
Yes, and that's how I got my first tutoring job. So I wrote to myself, I was like, I want to make £200. I don't care how, but I want this money. And this person messages me on Facebook, being like, "Oh, I was told that you're a great tutor. Come teach me." And I was like, well, I think you probably got the wrong person, but why not? It was like IELTS stuff. And because I was really good at exams in general, I was like, might as well teach this person IELTS. Why not? So we started this education process. He actually got quite good at English. He was doing pharmaceuticals, and that's why he needed English. And then they ended up not needing his IELTS, so he never actually did an exam because they were like, "Oh, your English is good enough now, so we don't really care what your IELTS is." But that was my first experience, and then I started doing teaching as like a proper part-time venture. Actually, when I left logistics, because I was kind of terrified of the new career path. So I started teaching at Skyeng part-time after work for this like layover period. when I moved to IT, I actually went from job to job straight away. I didn't really have a gap. So I started at IT as a resource partnership manager at ScienceSoft. That
Talking about ScienceSoft, you didn't think about a career of a developer, or maybe like if you easily pick things up, maybe you could get into C++ stuff or like backend, front end, whatever, or
I
it
think
doesn't feel that
during
much.
it was it was during coronavirus while I was still here. I did like lessons in Java just because it was like the basics for Belarusian IT. But I kind of found all the first steps really boring because it was really obvious. And then because I kept skipping stuff, I found the later stuff quite complicated because at that point I was lost. Um, so I don't know if I had like enough patience for actual
Too
developer
tedious,
stuff.
yeah.
So I obviously I think at some point it kept like throwing me back to coding. And because I was quite good at it at uni, it was quite easy, but I don't think I ever actually considered it as like a full career path. But I really liked project management, and even at uni, we would, I think as a female, it was always all on me to organize this whole all the projects that we've done. So I really enjoyed that part as well, and it really helped the fact that I actually understood what kind of tasks I was giving, and I knew how to do them myself.
I didn't remember where I read this quote. Women love talking to people, they love building relations, and men like working with objects, right? Women like working with people, men like working with objects. They're mostly happy with their computers or something like that. Women are more into building relations and just,
I think it
maybe
depends on the type of
project.
person you are, but in general, yes, I would probably agree with that.
So this is your new career track at the moment, right?
Yeah, so after giving birth and leaving my maternity leave, I'm still sort of on my maternity leave, but I'm working for 2 to 4 hours, so part-time at ScienceSoft as a project manager. I've got a project now.
Mhm. Cool. Yes, actually, one fun fact, Hanna is not just a teacher, project manager, and someone who's got a degree in engineering. She is a mother of two girls, of twins,
Yeah.
right? And somehow she jungles it all around. And if you are subscribed to her Instagram, you see how much stuff is going on in her life. If you still haven't, please subscribe because there is a lot of fun stuff there. So maybe one question about maternity, if it even, like taught you something that you didn't know about yourself before.
It's definitely changed my life a lot. It's definitely changed my self-perception massively. I got much stronger in terms of like my internal strength and understanding my self-worth and who I am as a person, and being more firm in my choices and choosing myself, because it's a lot easier to choose yourself when you think about like even like your time management stuff, with being like, okay, I'm not going to do this because it's not worth my time, because it's the time that I could be spending with my kids. So that's really helped. I also got unlocked this whole superpower of organization. So I liked organization before, but now I'm an absolute
When you have like 20
wizard.
minutes.
Literally, you can fit so much into this like 30 minutes or 15-minute slots. Like even they are not wasted. Everything is super packed. As my schedule is so tight. Literally, I'm running in between tasks and juggling so
Yeah,
many
guys,
things.
if you don't have kids and you think you don't have time for anything, at the moment you have them, it will be
Have
absolutely
all the
nothing.
time in the world right
Yeah.
now. So, get to your goals now. But obviously I don't think I would be able to do anything like that before kids. Not even close. I got so much more done in those last
So apparently
2 years.
there are a lot of positive moments about it. A lot of my
Absolutely.
friends say that like they needed therapy, they invested so much money into talking to a psychologist, like their psychologists and these therapy things, because they had these depression times like so often until the moment they had kids. When they had kids, they had no problems with like therapy whatsoever. They didn't need a psychologist, nothing of this kind. They
Don't have time to be depressed.
Yeah, they didn't have time to be depressed, and they were like, "Oh, I'm blessed with this 1 hour. I can sleep. I can do like so many things now." And so it definitely changes you.
It also teaches you how to appreciate the little things in life. Just like a warm coffee is already a blessing.
Yeah.
Like, wow.
Hopefully hot, but at least warm.
Okay, yeah. Hot is, don't.
Yeah, it's usually like about 5 times I need the microwave to reheat my coffee.
Literally. I think I've given up at this point and I just drink cold coffees now. Like,
Yeah.
iced macchiato.
Yeah, we'll do.
Call it something fancy and then it just feels better.
Right. Thank you very much for your time. Maybe we would just finish up with 3 quick questions that are supposed to, get quick answers, but feel free to. So one thing you miss about UK?
I think an open mentality. There are a lot of like new age people in Belarus now, but
We try to be open.
yes, but I think it's still quite hard, especially when you go to old school businessman or anyone of a different generation. They still seem to be quite strict, stuck in their ways. British people in general are a lot more open to possibilities. They're a lot more open to communication, and they're a lot more open about their feelings. And
well, this is very interesting, because I think the stereotype we have here that British are very reserved, bottled up, and it's not easy to talk to them. But maybe this is because you had this opportunity to be sort of an internal person, right?
Yeah, I think it also helps the fact that I made a point of making British friends that I was in a circle. So
yeah,
I
so
think
you
when
have
you're
an
outside,
absolutely
you
different
have different stuff. Because my brother actually studied in the UK, but he mainly talked to Russian people while he was at school, and he had like a lot of like Russian friends and so on. Because I got integrated so much, we had quite different experiences.
But this is definitely very interesting and surprising for us. One thing you most like about Belarus, especially now when you can compare your life before and after.
No, well, what I like right now is the amount of stuff that we're getting in terms of like even like foods. When I first came back, there was not a lot of choice. All of my alternative milk options, or like even bacon, was laughed at by the shop assistants because it was not available. So I absolutely love that. That you're getting more and more stuff in Belarus now. Plus, because like when you especially when comparing it to London, because you get a lot of things there, but they're all so spread out that you will never get to try all of them. In Belarus, I think in Minsk especially, everything is quite concentrated and there's a lot of things are going on. So if you want to be involved, you will be involved. As a person who is quite involved in everything myself, I would say that if you want to do stuff, there are a lot of opportunities and a lot of things get created literally every year. And for adults and for kids as well, with all the different clubs and things that you could do.
Talking about kids, guys, we are about to launch a super exciting project for kids. So stay tuned for this. And the very last question, your next country, like your next travel destination. I know you travel a lot.
Yeah. So my next planned travel destination is China.
Unexpectedly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or maybe in March. Yeah. We're going in March as a family, and yeah, we've been looking forward to that ever since I decided that we need to go somewhere. And it was this kind of little gem that we found by investigating hot places to go to, which were not like Turkey or Dubai or like even Egypt, because they all just seemed way too expensive. Plus, exotic countries took a lot of money to get there, and all of a sudden, Hanoi and Sanya and all that, the island. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember the title, but
Hanoi.
okay.
So apparently that's quite a new travel destination. It's not that new. Apparently, some people already been there, and quite a few people know about it.
So
But for
it
me,
grows in popularity now.
yeah, for me, that was a secret gem that's still quite undeveloped, and you can still get absolutely amazing prices in there. Plus, it's super adapted for kids. So pretty much in every hotel, there's like kids' room. There are even like kids' rooms in terms of actual rooms that you are in. So they have like this dry pool and slides inside the rooms. How cool is that?
Oh,
So
okay,
imagine
then
getting ready to go to the beach and not having to worry about your kids trashing the place and them just paying.
well, sounds like an
Absolutely
absolute
amazing.
dream when you have this super,
Yeah.
yeah, guys under 3 years old who have to absolutely like, all the time have to be watched.
Yeah, and some
And
place that I also really want to go, but I'm not sure if I'm going to make it. So wish me good luck. Is the US. I got invited to the Global Business Symposium in Harvard.
Ooh, cool.
So I would really want to go to Boston, but I don't know if I'll make it.
Yeah, we'll be keeping fingers crossed to make all your dreams come true, and we will be definitely watching all these funny moments, I think, in Hannah's Instagram. So feel free to subscribe and not to miss all the exciting projects we're gonna launch soon.
Absolutely.
And on this point, we'll see you next time.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.